Good morning. Good morning. My name is Alissa Demorest. I'm the editorial director of luxury packaging publications Femme de Luxe and luxepackaginginsight.com. And I'm delighted to be here today with my two guests to cover an issue that I think concerns everyone at this show and certainly everyone in our industry, which is how a healthy collaboration between a brand and supplier can push the needle forward when it comes to sustainability. So I'd like to welcome Nirav Metha, who is VP Direct Procurement at Estée Lauder Companies, and Neal Haussel, who is Director Brand Owner and Sustainability at Holmen Iggesund. So it's really going to be a discussion today for a half an hour. We'll save 5 minutes for your questions at the end. And we're going to dive right in. So Nirav, if you could start out by telling us what your targets are in terms of sustainability when it comes to the packaging and what those deadlines are as well.
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? It's a bit noisy. Good morning and thank you for the opportunity. At Estée Lauder, being the global leader in prestige beauty, we take it's very seriously, not only for delivering the luxury experience to our consumers and the product functionality to the consumers, but we also are committed to providing the consumers with very high levels of safety, efficacy, and quality and sustainability standards. We have a number of sustainability targets, both for the time horizon of 2025, 2030. Recently, at the highest levels, we've established the science-based targets to be in line with the Paris Accord to help limit the global rise in the temperatures. And also, when it comes to the overall packaging, we've established targets for our packaging by 2025 to be more than 75% of our packaging to be what we call 5R compliant. So essentially being able to recycle it, or should be recyclable, recycled, reusable, recoverable, or I forget the fifth one. But essentially making it more environmentally friendly, and also we are committed by 2025 to drive more than 25% of our products to come from recycled sources. And then narrowing it down to the paperboard and our partnership with Holmen, that our target is by 2025, we want to source all our paperboard based packaging that is 100% FSC certified. So that's FSC certified stewardship certification.
Where are you today?
We are track to deliver. I don't know the exact number, but we are on track to deliver the 100% by 2025. This is where I think making sure that the forests where the fibers are sourced, right, the eventual source of the fibers are the biodiversity is protected, that we are not causing any deforestation, as well as having a positive impact on the community that is touched by all of our value chain is critical for us. So, long answer, but I think the sustainability topic at Estée Lauder is at the top of the priority list, and we have pretty significant, ambitious targets across our entire value chain.
And so this target for 2025, when it comes to paperboard, when did you begin that journey?
So this journey has been on for a few years, although I've only been part of Estée Lauder for 1 year. So I don't know the exact date when this was established, but this is something that, sustainability is in our, what we call the compass, right? So we have a strategic horizon. We build our strategies for next 3 to 5 years, but then the compass is next 10 years and beyond, right? So sustainability has always been part of our compass strategy. So year over year, we've continuously raised the bar to meet our sustainability objectives.
Okay, and if we take the supplier's perspective, so how are you addressing these targets as regards paperboard?
Yeah, it's a great question, Alissa, because I think that it speaks directly to the value of the relationship between Holmen, Iggesund, and Estée Lauder. But if you look at our organizational structure, a very important part of that is our brand owner management team. And in that role, you need to be resourceful. You need to be collaborative, both internally and externally. You need to really understand what your sort of organizational assets are, the resources that are available to you, and how to leverage them. So if we look to Estée Lauder's goal of having 100% of their folding cartons FSC certified, we would leverage the fact that we actually have our own forest holdings, all of which are FSC certified. A large percentage of the fiber that we're using for paper making is coming from our own forests that are FSC certified. That allows us to then certify a significant percentage of our overall manufacturing capacity as FSC certified. In turn, that allows us to meet the demand for these FSC certified products on a global scale. If you turn sort of to Estée Lauder's commitment around greenhouse gas reduction, while we're probably a fairly small part of that, we are indeed a part of it. And there I leverage and lean into the painstaking work that our sustainability team has done in actually making accurate and science-based carbon footprint calculations. And they deviate from industry norms, industry averages, obviously significantly below, based on our 98+% fossil fuel production. Our carbon footprints are really low. So, I mean, that factors and figures into their ambition to lower the overall greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, I believe it is. I mean, these are the things that we do sort of here and now. But I think if we collectively are going to keep global temperatures in line or in keeping with the Paris Accord, more needs to be done. You need to find new materials, you need to find innovative packaging solutions, and there I lean into our future packaging team. And those guys really leverage external expertise. So we take original equipment manufacturers, so OEMs, we're working with material science folks, but we sit the right people around the table collectively to develop or expedite progress toward developing these new solutions.
Okay, and in terms of, since you've been working together on attaining these goals, what are some of the big sort of challenges that you've met? Where do the complications come in and how do you resolve that?
Yeah, I think the main challenge comes when you talk about sustainability, right? For most of the consumer brands is there is a conflict between protecting the margins versus doing the right thing and going after like more innovative, sustainable solutions. And unfortunately, I think at Estée Lauder, we and our brands realize that in order for us to continue to be the pioneer in the industry and also be at the leading edge of sustainability, that we need to make those bold choices and really partner with our key strategic suppliers to either co-invest or co-develop the technologies and the innovations that will help drive the sustainability front forward. And really set an example for the rest of the industry to follow, and then eventually it's an investment that we are making towards the future, and the return on investment would follow. So we tend to take the longer term view when it comes to sustainability.
Okay, and Neal, did you want to add something?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for sure, I think that balancing sustainability with cost-neutral solutions is going to be a challenge going forward for a while. But if I sort of step back and look at it, I see an overarching challenge of communication. I mean, it's really about communicating something as complex as sustainability and the work that brands are doing in that space.
To the end consumer.
To the end consumer, I think it's a real big challenge. And we're living in a world, of course, where greenwashing is becoming increasingly scrutinized. And whether you're Estée Lauder or you're a fund manager, the claims that you make out in the marketplace are going to likely be challenged. It's really important for you to understand what the rationale is behind the claims that you've made, what your claims are, if there are any trade-offs, things that you might need to reconcile. I think the communication is, we have a sort of open dialogue with their package sustainability team.
And you provide guidance for that then?
Exactly. We vet some of the claims they're trying to make, and we provide content for story building.
And do you always listen to what your suppliers advise you to do?
We try to. And they come back and they tell us, we told you so.
Right. Okay. Now if we move on to another big subject that we'll just touch on, but supply chain, the complexities of the difficulties that we've been seeing since even before the pandemic. How do you work together to navigate those?
Yeah, so as much of a challenge COVID and post-COVID pandemic times have been to all the supply chain professionals, I think one thing it has done is to really highlight the importance of strategic sourcing and supply relationship management, right? And this is something that we take very seriously at Estée Lauder, and we have cultivated these relationships over many years. And having those strong strategic partnerships really allow us to establish not only the trusted relationship, but also the trusted processes that go behind it, and ensuring that we have a sort of a joint longer-term business planning, where we provide each other the visibility of where overall our business is heading year over year, and strategically planning in areas where we need to make the right investments to drive. And we were really fortunate to have a partner like Holmen Iggesund standing besides us throughout this pandemic, because we know for a fact that the paperboard industry was significantly constrained, especially coming out of the COVID situation. And we at Estée Lauder, we did not have any issues because of partners like Holmen.
And where does it stand today then in terms of sourcing issues and?
It stands in a very different place, suffice it to say. That sort of pendulum switched rather quickly. But I mean, I think if I look at how we navigated that whole situation, I think everybody in the room could probably speak endlessly about the challenges of the last 2 years from a supply chain perspective. But we had regular communication that was established long before the pandemic with Estée Lauder, and that was done more or less on a quarterly basis. That gave us the opportunity to sort of see the bigger issues that we were looking at, some of which might be regional redistribution of product based on a regionalization strategy that they're chasing after. But it was also the collaboration that we had with the converter base, which more or less came at the mandate of Estée Lauder. But I mean, we did a lot of forecasting. Was that forecasting super accurate? Absolutely not. But between the communication we had with Estée Lauder, the forecasting information we had with the converter base, and then the long-standing relationship that we've had, gave us sort of this lens through which to sort of see historical usage. You put all of that together, enabled us to build much more resilient supply chains, both in Europe and the United States, which, by the way, are quite different, mainly based on proximity to the mill. But both of those really have given us a really solid foundation on which to build a similarly resilient and responsive supply chain in Asia Pacific as they pursue their regionalization strategy.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about this regionalization and how the pandemic sort of impacted that? When you source from Holmen, are you sourcing more? So you have mills all around the world. How has that changed?
Yeah, I think the regionalization was always part of our sourcing strategy, even before pandemic. However, what the pandemic did was to really put that at the top of the priority and accelerate the agenda. So we have put significant amount of effort behind building the data and analytics capability and having the right resources and the program management to ensure that we are continuing to regionalize our supply chain, where we are close to our source factories, so where we, Estée Lauder, manufacture the products. And in turn, our manufacturing network footprint is also close to where our end consumers are. So we've tried to, and we are continuously working towards, more agile supply chain, more responsive supply chain by regionalizing our network footprint, our supplier footprint, and then end-to-end supply chain.
So if you could almost say that the health pandemic has accelerated your sustainability strategy.
And we have the objectives also to regionalize 80% of our priority SKUs to, when we source the materials, to be sourced within the region of where they're being converted into a finished product.
Okay. And that's very different from pre-pandemic?
It's accelerated.
Okay.
So pre-pandemic, as I said, we had the plans, but it was not the topmost priority, right? And all eyes are on it. Post-pandemic, it was the acceleration, and then now, as Neal mentioned, we are getting to a point where we need to slow down a bit to make sure that we are allowing the entire value chain inventories to be taken up. So it becomes even more important for us to have that agile supply chain that's able to respond to not only spikes but also a relative slowdown in the industry.
Okay. And so what can be done today to go even further to accelerate this relationship beyond just great communication and a long-standing trust? What else should be put into place in an ideal world?
I would say that, at the risk of repeating myself, it's really all about collaboration, right? And I think a lot about, with respect to that question, this shift from plastic to fiber-based solutions, which, oftentimes you can't just make those without thinking about the functionality of, for example, what plastic provides. And in that space, you really, if we're pushing forward and accelerating the process from a sustainability perspective, I think that this collaboration is increasingly more important. And then I think you need to identify the other relevant stakeholders that will also bring their expertise to the table. Collectively, I think that accelerates not only scalable solutions, but ones that are also providing the right functionality.
Like next-gen materials, for example?
Next-gen materials.
Okay. What is your... I'm asking all these questions that we didn't prepare.
I sense that.
But I'm trying to be fair. What is your outlook? What is your view of these next-gen materials and sort of in a...
Yeah, I think to me, it's very important to have a clear strategy. That's the first thing, right? Clear long-term sustainable material strategy on what are our key objectives and what decisions are we making and what bets are we placing, where are we making the investments that are going to support our long-term goals, as well as also looking at which investments are going to provide us a competitive advantage in the future, right? So I think having that end goal in mind and then working your way backwards is very important. And then, across the board, we are looking at, whether it's paperboard, metals, glass, right? Like we are looking at more sustainable solutions, including resins, and making those longer-term investments and longer-term bets with our key strategic partners that will, eventually provide us as I said, the reinforce our status as the leading, prestige beauty company, not only in terms of our products, but also in terms of our sustainability commitments.
Okay. Did you want to add something, Neal, about next gen, or?
No, I don't think so. I think I pretty much covered what I would add to that. I think that, we need more solutions, not less solutions. And they need to, whether those are alternative fiber solutions or they're new fiber-based products that have bio-coatings on them, more solutions operating together as opposed to exclusive will, I think, benefit overall everybody.
Another question about luxury and sustainability. We all know about luxury codes, heavy products, shiny products. We're seeing a major shift there. What is your view on that?
Yeah, I think to me, for Estée Lauder, right? Like what's important as a prestige beauty leader is that we are able to provide our consumers with that joyful experience and that luxe experience when they open our products, right? So that starts with our packaging, right? Where it needs to be aesthetically pleasing, functionally very efficient, delivering all the benefits. But then also there is also a very critical piece into that is that it is sustainably sourced. In order for us to deliver that complete sort of that joyful experience and that delight to our consumers, we cannot ignore sustainability. So just because we are developing a luxury product, but it's at the end of the day it's harmful to the environment, that to us it's sort of conflicting what we are believing in when it comes to consumer satisfaction.
And the importance of communicating those initiatives to the end consumer.
That's correct.
Yeah, I would sort of second that, but it's, I don't think that sustainability and that luxurious consumer experience necessarily are at odds with one another. They certainly could be. But if you look at sustainability and then the regulatory landscape that's developing in support of that, brand owners, it's already shaping package development, and brand owners will increasingly be forced to take measures that are aimed at mitigating climate change, at creating circular material streams, and ameliorating water scarcity. So I don't think it's necessarily that they're at odds with one another, but I think the challenge, to your point, Alissa, is that the brands need to find ways to communicate that they are not necessarily mutually exclusive.
You're also communicating to consumers that are very different. So when you sell a product to somebody in Sweden or in France, it's not the same consumer as in Tennessee, for example. So how do you approach that? How do you create packaging that is more sustainable when in fact some consumers aren't as concerned as others?
Yeah, I think that there's 2 points to that, right? Like one is ensuring, so number one, Estée Lauder has pretty much all our brands are very global, right? Like they're really global, very well-renowned brand names. But more and more we are developing products that are also appealing to the local consumers, right? Like and the local trends, etc. But at the end of the day, the way we look at it is we as Estée Lauder, we stand for what is right in terms of sustainability and our socially responsible objectives, and the consumers would appreciate that and would follow that, because whether the consumer is in Tennessee or some other part of the world, climate change.
It's not to say the consumers in Tennessee don't care about sustainability.
Yeah, I'm just taking
Disclaimer.
that example, that it's going to affect us all equally.
Is there anything else you wanted to add to that before we move on with questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Do we have any questions in the audience? Surely there's one first question.
All of them?
Well, then I'll ask a question that we didn't prepare. Just about how you're feeling the market today. How is the local market, the North American market, doing in terms of beauty?
Yeah, I think the beauty market remains very strong from where we are seeing. In fact, when we look at our long-range assessment of the various sectors within the beauty market, that there is all indications, especially on the prestige and the luxe market.
So the upper tier.
There is continued growth projected, and that's what we are preparing for.
And in terms of categories, fragrance is very strong.
Fragrance is very strong. I think makeup is making a comeback post-pandemic, and skincare and hair care is also looking pretty strong. But for sure, fragrance and then followed by makeup.
Okay, and from the supplier perspective?
Like I said, I've seen the pendulum swing rather quickly from a demand perspective. But I think that, again, during this pandemic, those brand owners, let's say, that had allocation actually used it. Nobody wanted to be put in a position where they were sacrificing sales because they didn't have packaging solutions in place. And so most brand owners that, like I said, had the allocation to do so, built finished goods inventories. And then market conditions are a little bit softer right now. And so things seem a little bit slower, but I would wholeheartedly agree with what Nirav is saying, is that I think in general, the future of the beauty industry is very strong.
Okay, that's a nice way to end the discussion. No questions from the audience. That means that you did a fantastic job.
I hope so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.